around them, and the thinking that they're placing their thinking in the wrong places and really restricting themselves. And I'm wondering how you see like your work being able to affect communities, like how you see that the attention that you can have with the community and building something, like what change can happen.
Well, it's interesting in terms of how would learning the principles affect the community, because if what we're pointing to is that it's always a thought created experience, well, it's interesting because even within communities, you can have I don't know what the word would be, but like concepts and constructs of thought that fit into this community. This is what the community thinks. This is what we believe. This is how we do it. And this sense of, well, not saying rocking the boat, but this sense of, it could be like living in certain boundaries and not even seeing them as thought can block people, can block communities from even being connecting and growing. And, when people live in a tremendous amount of insecurity and they don't know where that's coming from, they can innocently behave in really undesirable ways. So you have that happening in communities all the time, where you're not necessarily liking the kind of behaviors that are showing up in your community, and you want to like help them with whatever it might be, addiction, crime, being better people, whatever your community is that you're trying to work in. And so on some level, when you are able to help people understand where insecurity comes from and where security comes from, so that the members of the community can tap in and find their health, you're going to overall change the environment and behavior of the community. When you change their state of mind overall, you're going to change that. So the truth is, the simple understanding is that insecurity is a thought created experience. And it really is just coming out of a moment of innocently thinking I'm not aligned in that moment. Innocently thinking that God's not the source of my experience in that moment. And when I am kind of clear where my experience is coming from, there's a sense of security that fills people. That's why it feels so pleasant and peaceful and nice, because there's a sense of security that comes. The moment I'm in a misunderstanding, I'm blaming something else for my experience, in that moment ego is born. And once ego is born, insecurity is born. They're one and the same. So when you can help a community wake up to how they might be thinking themselves out of their clarity, out of their source, out of knowing where their experience is really coming from, if you can help people, you're helping them be okay with their insecurities and not give too much life to them, then you're really raising the consciousness, the overall consciousness of the community, and you'll see that in their behavior. So whether that's happening in school systems, if a whole school, there are communities online, places in California, places in projects where people with the community learned this whole understanding, and you see the upgrade. There's less crime, there's less negativity, there's less stuff going on, and you end up seeing people being more productive and more positive and more helpful and more chassidic and more kind, and because you raising the bar of how people understand their experience, and they're able to be resilient. That's really, to me, the key, is that there's an innate resilience that human beings have, that God created us with. It's who we are, the ability to bounce back from life no matter what's being thrown at you. And if a community overall has that resilience and is tapped in and knows that, they have the ability to teach that over to their children. They have the ability to teach that within their school systems or their family systems. You're really providing them with a sound foundation for being able to live life in a really powerful way, being empowered. I'm not a victim. I'm not a victim to what other people in the community are doing. I'm not a victim to what other people in my family are doing, because they don't have the power that I might have innocently thought they did or given them via my thinking. And that is very empowering, to wake up to my thinking is what's going to create my experience of everything around me, and that when I settle with all those beliefs or misinformation or mispreconceptions or what have you, wise ideas and clarity and peacefulness and love and understanding, like that's compassion. It shows up, and when that's showing up in a community, like there's no end to what can be accomplished within a community if people are naturally showing up with compassion, forgiveness, and love and unity. It's like kind of what the world is searching for. How can I bring unity to people? Well, the only thing that creates discord is an innocent thought that there's discord here and there's not unity, and then it looks true to them, and then they live out of that, and then we have conflict.
Are you talking about like you're radiating something out, like you're imagining discord, so there's going to be discord, or?
What do you mean?
You're saying just the last part, maybe. You said if you don't think there's unity here, there's not going to be unity here.
And the reason is that because we live in a thought-created experience. So if I walk into a space and I think already that there's discord, that there's conflict, that this isn't going to go so well, chances are at the end of the meeting, I'm going to walk out and say, wow, look at all the evidence I have to prove. See, I was right. There was discord, there was disunity, there was, and I'll have no idea that, I don't know, you want to call it a self-fulfilling prophecy, whatever you want to call it, but I'll have no idea that I created that because I came in with that thinking. And if I wasn't in that space, something else might have occurred and I might have had a completely different experience. So my point is that discord can only ever be a thought-created experience. And if I wasn't thinking that way, that wouldn't be my experience, because there's a reality. There's a reality whether I know it or not. There's a reality whether I believe in it or not. And the reality is that, God is the infinite source behind all of life. And there's a unity to that. There's a love to that. The reality is love. We just think our way out of it and create hate. The reality is unity. We just think our way out of it and create conflict. And if people were aware of how they're creating their own realities more of the time, there'd be less negativity in the world.
Bizarre.
Right.